Hey everyone, it's Jamie Oller, 25-year veteran of Dallas-Fort Worth professional wrestling, and you're drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Mo's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Mo's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Mo's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
You know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Moe's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee, the, the exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee, and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody, welcome to Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because YouTube's algorithm continues to be a pain in the ass. Where most places can find the audio podcast stuff too. Don't forget to leave a review there. I'm excited to have with me. The state of Texas has been very good to me. I have another great one out of the state of Texas. Jamie Oller, how you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Happy to have you on. Now, first thing I like to start off with everybody with, what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business?
So, in so I've lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area practically my whole life, and born in 1983,
Hey,
and
right there with me.
yeah, it's a good year. Um, and in this area, we had the Von Erichs, and I don't know if I remember anybody in grade school that wasn't a fan of pro wrestling, just as the boys side, right? Girls obviously not so much, but we all liked wrestling. Nationally you had Hogan, you had Ultimate Warrior, you had Macho Man, right? Everybody
Yeah.
knows those names, but here locally, like the Von Erichs were everything,
Oh
and
yeah.
so it's not just my generation of Von Erichs, right? But my mom and my grandma, they all, Fritz, the Sportatorium, and then of course wrestling and roller derby were kind of go went hand in hand back then. So
Yeah.
my mom grew up watching that because her mom made them watch it, and so it was a very generational thing, and where most kids kind of grow out of it at some point, I didn't, and there was some downtime there, like in some like 95, right? If you go back and you watch 95, even though people talk about that's when the Monday Night Wars kind of started, it really didn't, because that was just a terrible year. If you like hokiness, like it's a great year, but it really didn't pick up there until 96, and then being a fan, staying a fan paid off, and then you get to some of the best TV, not necessarily the best wrestling, I would say, but
Yeah.
like some of the best stories, some
Oh
of the
yeah.
best, most entertaining 2 hours of television you'll watch. And so yeah, so I mean, being 14 and in the middle of the Austin, era, and DX was a huge, huge thing for me. DX is
Getting
probably
everybody
still,
in trouble.
man, I had the shirts, and people like the teachers and principals and things like that. Yeah, you always get in trouble, but yeah, and then locally we had we didn't have a whole lot after the Sportatorium until the NWA started trying to come back, and they
Mm.
had NWA Southwest here locally, and you start watching that on some of the local channels here, and then get old enough to drive, and you start attending shows, and we were fortunate enough to have a weekly show in Arlington, right across from where the big giant, Cowboy Stadium is now. And being 17, not being able to afford the tickets every week, just started helping set up and tear down, and anything that I could learn, I would just get my hands on and be a part of. And
Oh
that
yeah.
was 2001, and we're here 2026, right? And so it's just the elevation. And I think it's the greatest form of storytelling there is. And I think that there is so much to appreciate about professional wrestling that doesn't
Mhm.
get talked about a lot. So it's a
Oh yeah.
no-brainer to continue to be a part of it to this day.
Oh yeah. No, but I'm definitely with you there. I so much great stuff that you really think when wrestling first started getting into the mainstream of pop culture, and then also yeah, I you know what, when you were talking about it, I didn't really think about it before, but yeah, those when Nitro first started and the Monday Night Wars like officially began. Yeah, the that first little bit, yeah, you didn't really get to the good stuff like that everybody thinks about with the Monday Night Wars until the outsiders come in and you get the whole then that and the whole Austin 316, and that just boom, it was off to the races from that point. But I do remember, you know, growing up during all that time, I remember from, you know, rewatching stuff that somebody that frequented the Dallas area that I remember growing up at least, he scared the ever loving crap out of me. But watching back his stuff now, like right now, I gravitate towards a lot of those intense personas, that you see the guys that just look like, especially if they had a title on them, that you're going to have to damn near kill them to take that from them. And the guy that I'm talking about, Bruiser Brody, like
Yeah.
from that era, like I remember the little bit while I knew what I was watching that I would catch at him that dude scared the ever loving shit out of me when I was growing up. Now I
Yeah.
love, like, oh my god, the intensity from that dude. I just
Yeah.
love it.
If you go and watch the stuff from Japan, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have been a fan in that crowd when he hits those chairs. Like when he's going in, I
Yeah.
mean, holy cow, because there are certain guys that, I've unfortunately, right, because of timing or just, because of life and death, right? But, him, Terry Funk,
Mm,
Abdullah the Butcher, Stan Hansen,
yeah.
right? Guys that you couldn't really tell what was going to happen. And I've always wondered in my mind, like, because look, I know you get out there, adrenaline starts pumping, right? You start going, whatever. Um, maybe they were in control the whole time and it was just all part of
The
the mystique,
yeah.
right? But I don't know, man. I don't know because at 42, I still watch that stuff and I'm like, I think he would have assaulted somebody if they'd have gotten close, just yeah, I don't know, man. Those guys were wild, and what an era of wrestling. And yeah, the stuff they did here in the States was very mild compared to the stuff in Japan. Just, it's different culture, different atmosphere,
Uh,
but unbelievable to still watch. And just from an inside baseball perspective, there's so much to learn from it. Presentation, like I said, mystique, how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, and what it can do for you to have that kind of aura. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just it's amazing.
Oh yeah. And like right now, at least a guy that mirrored that somewhat for me when it came to a similar, like I call it like a Bruiser Brody esque entrance. At least when you look at some of his stuff from like New Japan, was Lance Archer. Like
Hmm.
see some of his entrances from back then, and the way he just like kind of chugged the water bottle and then just throw it in the crowd and just kind of like I said, Bruiser Brody s just without swinging the chain around and
Sure.
damn near taking somebody's head off with it.
I know Lance very well. He was one of the first guys I met back in 2001. Very intense dude. Very intense dude. Like when he goes to that curtain, like intensity to the max.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I can definitely see the parallels for sure.
oh yeah. Like we'll talk a little bit about. We'll probably talk a little bit about this, but you can see behind me here much like yourself.
Sure, sure.
But up top, I have like lined with a bunch of signed figures that like I don't buy them already signed. I go and take them to the
Right.
person. One of the first ones was actually at Warrior Wrestling out of Chicago. They did a St. Louis stop that I got invited to very early on in the podcast. That Lance Archer happened to be on that show. So like one of my first ever ones that I got signed was his AEW one. I got
Oh, okay. All
right
right.
up
Yeah,
there.
it's funny because I just hung these back up actually. But there's the
Oh, the
TNA
TNA.
one. Yeah.
Nice.
So I got him to this was before he went to WWE. He was
Okay.
2009. He was leaving us and heading there. And I'm like, all right, man, I just need you to sign these two things. I don't need you to like you can personalize them. I'm not gonna sell them or anything. I just need to tell people down the road. I was like, yeah, I knew this dude way before he was a
Oh
TV
yeah.
star. I mean, like, because his TNA run is interesting. Um, there was the period of I think it was 2005. It was between their Fox Sports deal and their Spike TV deal.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
they didn't have TV for like 3 or 4 months, and they were just doing the shows in Orlando, and he got massively over because here's a 6'6", 6'7" guy doing moonsaults, doing springboards, just super uber athletic, right?
Yeah.
And that crowd just ate it up, and he was over Hoytomania. Um, got just insane amount of popularity, and then they went to Spike, and he kind of just fell to the background, and
Yeah.
it was extremely frustrating because I knew how hard he worked, and when you get that when you get something over without a push from your PR machine, from whatever you want to call it, right? The office, the booking team, whatever, right? You're
As
not
people would
necessarily.
like to say, organically get
Yeah,
over.
100%. He got that. And, you know, I don't think it was like, oh, well, you're going to be punished because you got yourself over. It wasn't that. It's just, you know, you turn around and all of a sudden the Dudleys are now there, right?
Yeah.
Team 3D. Jeff Jarrett was always going to be the number one guy because he had to be.
Yeah.
That's, and that, what I mean by that is he knew he was never going anywhere. So he had to be the top guy because he had to be able to trust whoever they were going to put in that spot. And back then, WWE, you never knew like where somebody would go. And so, Jeff gets a lot of heat that I think is misguided. I think he had to do it. But sometimes it was at the expense of guys like AJ Styles, like Lance
Yeah.
Hoyt. Um, it's unfortunate, but here we are, 2026. I mean, all this time later, 20 years later, and he's still a prominent figure. Um, and so that's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, one thing that I was thinking about with some of the work that I've seen from you in Dallas and a few other areas, and it got me thinking when we were talking about TNA that they've had quite a few uh, good histories with managers, and it seems to be that managers are a good manager is kind of like a lost art anymore. Like you
Sure.
don't really see, with some exceptions. There's people out there that like are really killing it in that role, but it's not as wide as it has been in the past. Now, lots of people might not realize, when you know getting through training that whether you're manager or whatever it might be, you're still doing the a lot of the regular wrestling training because you're probably going to be taking some bumps in there at some point,
Sure.
especially if you're the
Sure.
heel manager. Your job is to have those people want to see you get your ass knocked out.
100%. 100%.
And like I've noticed, especially on social media, you've been behind, no stranger to what the a lot of people might throw around manager of champions. Like I've seen a lot there with even some former guests. Like I remember when I was putting together my notes for the episode, you with Demo Diamond. I had him on like two or three times now. God dang, with
Yeah, I think it
over
was 3 times. Yeah.
yeah, I was wanting to say three
Yeah.
times, but over 420 episodes now. Sometimes the
Yeah.
exact numbers kind of fade away. But what is it that like you would look like for like people to get behind? Because it, sometimes, yes, we know predetermined and stuff. I
Sure.
hate the term fake when it comes to wrestling because I've
Yeah.
taken some bumps in that ring, and yeah, I was walking funny for about a week.
100%. Yeah.
So I hate the term fake when
Absolutely.
but it's still, there's still, some creative input that you guys get a little more of on the independents. So what was it like, kind of figuring out who to get behind there?
Yeah. uh, You're right. It's an interesting dynamic. It's an interesting situation, right? Because you're not, if you're a free agent or if you're a manager or a coach or something like that, right? You're going to join a team and you have to pick the best team that you think you have an opportunity of being successful at because your job depends on it. That's not what it is in professional wrestling. There are a few things that do matter. Personal connection matters.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to, so a lot of what you've seen is probably MPX related. Uh,
Yeah.
MPX for a lot better part of 12 years now for me. When I first started doing the managing thing there, it was with Jerome Daniels, who's now JD Griffey.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, and Jerome and I at that point, I'd known him since he broke in, and he was starting to hit his stride finally. And they put the group together, and he and I just started talking, and it was a behind the scenes, you know, hey, why don't you try this? Hey, maybe this week you do this. We would talk. I would be at a different show, and we would be exchanging text messages or phone calls, and you know, it was always in the best interest of him and what he was doing, and it just became a natural fit to just put me with him in the group, and he was already champion by that point, and And so for me, it was just being a part of there, being a part of it at ringside, being able to call audibles, being able to see things, and you know, they always talk about going back to the lab, and reviewing your footage and stuff like that. And so I would do that. I would review footage and I'd say, hey, your footing on this move right here, switch it up, try the other foot first. Here's an example of what I'm talking about and show, somebody else doing the move and things like that. And it was a real connection that, the managing thing in front of the camera was, all right, cool, whatever. The real connection there was what we did, behind the scenes and trying to help him grow and trying to help him, be the best version of himself that he could be. And from there, I took some time off after that. And when I came back, I saw two guys, Ryan Remington and Tommy Becker, and they were both just breaking in. And I just saw them tag team one time. It was supposed to be like a throwaway thing. And I just told them, I said, look, if you guys want to do this long term, you need to be a tag team. And we need to go all the way with this thing. And eventually Dave Sagan joined us and we had a great run. And that was, again, it was personal. It was seeing, we started at the bottom, right? These are two green, like debuting guys. And so we're, first, second match every week. And within a year, now we're in the main event. Now Tommy Becker's wrestling Ethan Page. Ryan Remington is getting those big spots, Swerve Strickland. So it became satisfaction to watch these two guys grow. Um, and I say these two guys, I never want to dismiss Dave's contributions to it.
Yeah.
But Dave had his own way of doing things. He had his vision of things. Dave's one of the most creative people I've ever met, not just in wrestling, but just in general. And so he kind of had his own thing, and he was able to go and do that too. And um, but at some point you kind of go, okay, you guys don't need me anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
it's cool. And we were coming out of COVID. I say coming out, like we were starting to do shows again after COVID.
Yeah.
After COVID had started. So this is like, later in 2020. And my wife and I, we had before we had gotten married, we were together and we were, she's a wrestler as well. And so we were just like, maybe we just start winding down. Like, let's try to, make a go of this and on, her and I personally. And just took some time off and it was nice. We were able to really build a great foundation to start a marriage on. And it's even, we're celebrating 5 years here coming up soon and couldn't ask for, a better situation. So the time off was good. But when I came back, there were so many new guys and I had no clue who they were, what they were about. They were all younger. Some of these guys were born in the 2000s, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't understand how that's possible. It messed with me a lot, but the one guy that it stuck with me was Demo Diamond. I mean, from the first day I came back, he was the first guy. I was like, damn, that dude's tall. All
Yeah.
right, cool. Like, let me, because you do, right? You see things first.
Yeah.
And the first night I met him, I looked at his knee pads and it said stop six. And I said, are you from Stop Six? He said, yeah, I was born and raised in that area. And I said, damn, okay, cool. Now, Stop Six is notoriously one of the worst neighborhoods in Fort Worth. It is ultra violent even to this day. Like it is just a very, very dangerous area. And what I took from that was this dude did not let his circumstances dictate where he went. You know, it's cliche, right? To be like, oh, you overcame the odds, and it wasn't about that. It was just like that told me something, and it told me a lot without really having any other conversation with him. And I just watched him grow. And I was there in a, I guess you could say like a GM role,
Yeah.
just kind of overseeing the show from that perspective. And I would just watch him, and I would talk to him after, and then I would talk to him before, and then after, and I would see what frustrated him. I would see what motivated him. I would see everything. And we were getting ready to wrap up the GM thing, and I said, okay, I said, I have this idea. And I pitched it, and it was an immediate absolutely. So, all right, cool. And um, from there, it was just, when I started managing him, we eventually put the group together, and it took its own, uh, it became its own thing. We made some changes and then got it to where it was, I saw Reza Clark has been on the show before too, right?
Yep.
Reza was a part of that, still is a part of that. And we became a really tight group, and it was awesome because it was a group of, it was a group of young men and Reza that just wanted to be successful, right? And being successful is measured by different metrics,
Yeah.
right? You can say money is success, you can say fame is success, or you can just say, hey, I'm doing this and no one thought I ever could,
Mhm.
and I'm doing it, so suck it, right? Like,
Oh yeah, I get
yeah,
that
that
mentality.
yeah, that's a hell of a metric for some people. And so I creatively, it came to a place where I didn't feel like I was in the best position to help them anymore. And so I've stepped away from there. But um, you know, time can, whatever, it can mend fences, whatever. But I was with Riza on Saturday, and it was great. It was just, I love those guys so much. And I think, to me, going back to the original question, that to me is what makes a successful manager,
Mm,
because you can put anybody over, right? I don't like, I mean, I got a bottle of super glue here, right? Like, give me 2 minutes, I can cut a promo on super glue and tell you why it's going to be champion. Like, it's bad because it's super glue, right? It's not a human being. But my point being is, there are managers who just want to get themselves over. Their group is named after them. Their whole managerial persona is about me, and I present this guy. And whatever, man. I'm a 42-year-old fat white dude, right? Who's
mhm.
like, you know, got patchy facial hair, and who cares about me? Like, you shouldn't, right? I'm going to make you care, but I'm going to do it by telling you how great these other guys are, because I believe they're great, right? I believe Demo Diamond is going to be on TV within the next 5 years. I believe Demo Diamond is going to be a champion in a major federation. I believe that Demo Diamond is going to be a huge star with action figures and T-shirts. And I can tell my future kids, hey, that's Uncle Demo, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, that's, to me, that's what a good manager should strive to be, is you are
Oh yeah.
there to get these guys over. And if you can do it by telling the truth and telling people how you feel, that's easy
Oh
work.
yeah. Oh,
It's easy work.
for sure. Oh, I love my Dr. Pepper, but it gives me the burps like crazy sometimes.
Hey, as a Texas guy, I know all about Dr. Pepper.
But we talked about MPX, and I mean MPX has been very, very good to me. Like
Mhm.
from meeting Matthew Palmer a handful of times up at Sammy Callahan's promotion
Oh,
Revolver.
Revolver. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they until they've been expanding, but for the longest time it was flip flopping between Dayton and Des Moines. Des
Hmm.
Moines like 2.5 hours from me, so I
Okay.
started going periodically. Met him a handful there, including one of my freaking funniest memories I've ever had watching a wrestling show when his match was against Swerve and Keith Lee that night. And they did this spot where Keith Lee did that double hand wham. And Matthew Palmer just lays there like, oh, like he's dead. And that Sarah McLachlan song comes on, and it's like, and they had like R.I.P. Met. I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
Loved it. But, through a lot of that, I, had him reach out a few times, and I've, reached out a few times when, for like most recently the Texas Rumble.
Yep.
That's where I had Riza and had Demo on for the third time, and like I always I will welcome him back anytime because him and I have a few things in common. Our little ones are like close to the
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah,
same
you're
age,
right. You're right.
very
Yeah.
very very close. So
Yep.
always cool talking outside of wrestling with him and
Right.
everything. But thing I'm loving with MPX, I've talked a handful of times with other people, is it seems like the standard for independent wrestling shows is the once a month sort of
Sure.
deal. Which I mean that's all fine and good. MPX has found a way to make it steadily great programming weekly.
Hmm.
You don't see that very often on the independents.
It's tough. It's brutal if we're being honest. It we so Dallas Fort Worth has a huge legacy of weekly wrestling.
Yeah,
It's up there with Memphis and other areas, right? Like
yeah,
weekly wrestling in Dallas Fort Worth. And after the Sportatorium, like I said, in NWA Southwest, and then right as wrestling on the national stage had basically become WWF only, right? WCW, ECW, they were closed. We had at one point, we had three weekly wrestling shows in the area. We had TCW in Denton, which eventually became XCW. We had NWA Southwest, and then we had PCW in Arlington. And PCW is where I got my start, and so weekly wrestling was all I ever knew getting into the business. And I just thought that's how it's done. It's every Saturday.
yeah.
You're committed, right? And you'd spend 3 or 4 days during the week up there watching guys train, figuring out like who's the next guy. Hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And MPX in 2016, when they got the building they're in now, it was we're gonna have to be weekly. And I'll never forget, we were sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings and Stephen Kirby, who was the owner at the time, and it was him and Richard Hill and myself and maybe a few other people. But he's just like, we're gonna have to go weekly. And I looked at him and I said, and I looked over at Richard and I looked back at Kirby and I said, we know what that's like, but do you know what that's like? And he said, I know what I'm asking, and I know that it's a big ask. But it's the only thing we can do. All right, well, hold on to your britches, right? Because it's gonna get wild, and it did, but the beauty of weekly wrestling is storytelling, and I said that earlier about it's the greatest form of storytelling that's out there. It's ever evolving. It's just you're always gonna have new characters. You're always gonna
Right.
have um, you know the opportunity to tell new stories with new people, old stories with new stories with old people, right? It's everything, and having that weekly advantage is great. It's also a grind because guys have other options. Most people, well, I say most, there's like 20%, maybe 25% of professional wrestlers they want to do this for a living, right? And they're putting their body on the line. They're training. They're going to the gym. They're eating right. They're doing everything they need to do. And you know, it's probably not hyperbole to say 1 to 2% of all professional wrestlers end up doing it for a living. It's a
Yeah.
very small percentage, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of wrestlers out there. There's a lot of promotions out there, and 1 to 2% maybe make it. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're going to be a superstar. It doesn't mean that you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't mean that you're going to be world champion. It just means you're going to make it to where you can do it for a living. And maybe that's 3 years, maybe it's five. Hell, hopefully it's 10 plus.
Yeah.
But the only way you're going to do that is if you go and you travel and you do all the
Mm.
different shows in front of who knows who. And maybe there's, maybe you go to Des Moines and there's 20 people, but one of those 20 people has a podcast and they invite you to their podcast. And then you do three podcasts. And, next thing you know, somebody else is like, hey, man, that guy can talk. What can he do in the ring? Okay, well, he's 6'5", 6'6". Oh, man, he's a hell of an athlete. God, what is he, 22, 23? Holy crap. Like, let's figure out a spot for this guy, right? Let's bring him in. You don't get that. And this is the trouble. You can't expect to have that same result being at the
Yeah.
same building every Saturday in front of the same crowd. You
Yeah.
just can't. And for the guys that want to do this and have fun at it and enjoy themselves, um, and do it at a high level, but honestly, like, hey, I'm good being here in this building, right? Like I'm good doing this, and that's fine. Cool. You have to build stories around those guys, right? I said Jeff Jarrett being, having to be champion. It's the same thing. You have to revolve your show around people that you know you can count on that aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And when you have guys like Demo Diamond who start to travel, you can't put them in a lot of storylines because you're not going to have them a lot. And then it becomes, again, like I said, well, why am I here? Like I shouldn't be here because if he's not here, he he's not bigger or better than anyone else in the group, but he is kind of like this the centerpiece. And we need that. And if we're not going to do anything with it, then whatever. But yeah, that's the hardships and the struggles of weekly. And so you'll see guys 6 months to a year, and then somebody else will be interested, and then somebody else will be interested, and then they'll just go away. And maybe they'll come back for an appearance here or there, but the storytelling with those characters kind of goes away after a while.
Oh yeah. Now there were a few. Well, one in particular that you know, even in the amount of episodes that I've been fortunate enough to do right now, I'm still getting introduced to new people. And one that, and I mean, I might not be as familiar with the guy, but there was a match involving this man against Sky de la Camosa versus Man Man. Now, Man Man, everything that I've seen clips and everything with him, not a slouch of a competitor, but I'll admit, growing up, when I first heard Man Man, if you remember the show All That with the guy that Kel used to play, Repair Man, Man, Man. That was the first thing that popped into my head. And you know what? Maybe there's those things that, sometimes odd things that'll get people to latch on to
Sure.
a person. Hell, maybe that's the thing that drew my attention to the guy because I see the name and that popped into my head.
Yeah, he was when I he was one of the guys that was there when I came back, and I remember just going, what, why? Like what are we doing here? Like your name's Man Man, like that's and I obviously never having a conversation with him, right? But you're having behind the scenes with somebody else, and you go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. And it's like, oh no, it's great, it's blah blah blah, it's wonderful, all right, whatever you say. But I got to know him, and um his name is definitely the first thing that you'll catch, but the guy is incredibly entertaining. Um, he is uh, the best thing the best way I can describe him to anybody that doesn't know, he's X-Pac. He is, and that's not just from the size perspective, right? Because he is a smaller guy. It's an attitude. So when Sean Waltman was six Pac and he invented the crotch chop and he was doing the Bronco Buster, man, this little disrespectful little, and he's standing behind Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and you're like, man, if you didn't have those two guys, like I would rip he comes to WWF, becomes X-Pac. DX is supposed to be a heel group. What happens? They become the most over thing underneath Austin. Why? Because you had guys like X-Pac that were out there, doing what they did, and that's what Man Man is. Man Man was a guy that everyone hated, and he would get the most heat out of anybody on the show. But then eventually you go, this dude is solid, man. He is entertaining. He makes me laugh. He can wrestle, right? That's the big key. Can you go? Because if you can't go, then you're just, that's funny and whatever, right? And you move on. He's an afterthought.
Yeah.
But he can go. And he can go with anybody. Sky, right? Sky's, you know, not being, not trying to oversell it, but Sky's damn near double the size of Man Man.
Yeah.
If you did like a mass type thing, right? Like Sky would be about double and it doesn't look off, right? It has to pass the eyeball test. It passes the eyeball test because Man Man has heart, determination, grit, speed, athleticism, high flying. He can hit, right? He can hit and move. He can stick and move. And he can hit you three or four times before you even know what's coming. And it's easy to get behind somebody who's having to fight from underneath. And I think the world of that dude. I think you could put that guy on any show across America and he would get over and he would be a recurring person that you bring in, whether it's a weekly or monthly show. Like that's a guy you can put on your show and will always get a response and people will pay to see him.
Oh yeah. I'm right with you there because heck, if all it took, I'm generally the guy that, there's I gravitate towards, like I said, the intense personas. And then when I can have somebody that, well, I admit maybe a goofy reason that the name drew me in,
Sure.
but it drew me in. And
Yep.
here I am now talking about the guy, and like I'm a genuine fan of the guy now, even though what initially drew my attention was thinking repairman man.
Well, man, just think about it. Dolph Ziggler is a terrible name. Dolph Ziggler was like, what are we doing, man? Nick Nemeth has all the talent in the world, and you're calling him Dolph Ziggler. And here's the thing. If you have talent, there is nothing anyone can do that can hold you down. You just
Oh
can't.
yeah, for
Zack
sure.
Ryder into Matt Cardona, and then what happens, right? Yeah, we bring him back. Maybe he's not going to be a top guy, but he's a guy that we can trust to go out there and give us 12 to 15. He's a guy that we can trust to go over there and help get younger guys over. He's a true professional. Like you can't bury talent. You just
Oh
can't.
yeah. Oh,
Talent will always overcome.
for sure. Now, before we get into some two categories I have here, what do you have planned for, what you can let people in on your plans for the rest of 2026? Because, I mean, we're still relatively young in the year
Sure.
right now. And, MPX and beyond, I mean, MPX already getting off to a killer start for
Mhm.
2026. MPX and beyond for the rest of 2026.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, Richard Hill and I are we've been friends for several decades now, and that's never going to change. We just probably have to, come together and get on the same page about what to do moving forward, and I'm sure we will. But right now, my focus is on 360 Pro Wrestling.
Mm.
360. is legitimately the best touring promotion in Texas. And there's not a ton of them, so it's not
Yeah,
like a big flex. But if you were to just go the entire South, like Southern United States, um, I I knew about them. I knew what they were doing. And then Demo and I got booked back in January of last year. And I knew I was home in a lot of ways because you're in a
yeah.
small Texas town in front of the countryest bumpkin people on the planet. And I am going to get you to forget that this isn't real. And um and so we got brought back a couple other times throughout the year last year. And then finally, um I'll give my wife credit. She got booked. I didn't get booked. She got booked. And they asked me if I would come in and do commentary. And if there's one thing I can do in this world, it's talk. And so I took advantage and did it. And I've been there every show since. And what what my wife and I both love about it is that it is a true team effort. It is and I don't want to use the word family. I think family is kind of like that's a sacred term. I don't want to say that. But in
Now,
some ways, it kind of is with some of us because um, Brent McKenzie and I are as close as two people can be, especially without talking all the time. Like we don't, we go a long time without talking, but um, that dude will always have a spot, with me anytime he needs it, and vice versa. And he's a big part of that show. Aaron Presley, who's the president of the show, he and I have known each other for years, just kind of in passing. But what we've kind of started building upon is huge. And he already had the foundation; they were already doing it. I'm just adding to it, right? I'm not it had nothing to do with their success, but they trust me, I trust them. It's a touring show. It's monthly. We had a 6 week 6 weeks between February and March, and now we have a 2 week break. So we're back on the 4th in a town called Clifton, Texas. Bradshaw for Ron Simmons will be there.
nice.
And yeah, the Bradshaw has done a lot with the promotion. He really loves being there. I overheard him and Ron talking. I don't want to say secretly, right? I wasn't like eavesdropping or anything, but I keep my ears open. And he was, telling Ron, he's like, man, this place has a lot of good things going for them. They got a good formula, a lot of good, hardworking, people on the show, good crew. And so when you hear things like that, that's what you want to hear. What you don't want to hear is, hey, man, these guys pay a lot of money and you can milk them for what they're worth, right? Like you don't want to hear that, and you don't, right? And you know, I'm sure John has a little bit of Carney in him, right? But John's a pretty straight shooter too. And I would like to think that, those things are genuine. And I thought that was really cool. And man, it's a team effort, and they trust me to be able to help younger talent. I commentate the first four matches of the show, and then I go out there and manage in the main event, right? And I get to manage Chandler Hopkins, who uh, legitimately, I mean this legitimately, could not freaking stand this guy when he was a baby face and he was coming in and he was young. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing. Like, so I'll tell you a funny story. He was in a match, and the his opponent is attacking his leg, going after his knee, going after his knee, going after his knee. So wrestling has a formula, right? If you watch enough wrestling matches, you know what the formula is. That formula hits, and as he's going to make his fiery comeback, he kips up. I bust through the locker room door outside, and I yell at the entire roster. And I said, if your mother knee is getting worked the entire match, why would you kip up? And everybody's like, oh, we saw that coming. Well, that night, Tommy Dreamer's there to wrestle Sky De La Cremosa. They're talking. They stop, they hear me outburst, they hear me walk back and slam the door shut. This guy tells me, Tommy looks at me, goes, I like the passion. And then they just go right back to talking about their match. And so Sky always tells me that he's like, I like the passion. But I wanted to fight him that night. And I know that sounds really stupid, but I even though I'm on a podcast talking about the inner workings of wrestling, I still believe wrestling is sacred. I think that, you know, there are a lot of things that should still be held to a high standard.
Yeah.
And so from that moment on, I was just like, man, I'm done with this guy. I can't. So in January when I showed up, they told me the plan, and I thought it was what we call a rib. I thought somebody
Yeah.
was kidding me. I was like, no, this isn't happening. But that night, what I realized was over the course of 5 or 6 years, he's grown as a competitor, as a performer, as a person, and it was just night and day. And I looked at him and I was like, this is gonna work. Like we're gonna do something here. Because I never hold anything against anybody, right? Like I could have a fist fight with someone and the next day be like, whatever, if it because emotions run high, and I am a hugely emotional person. Anybody that knows me knows that they'll tell you that I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to hold back, and sometimes it's at the detriment of relationships. But it doesn't benefit anybody.
Yeah.
And um, so when I saw that he was completely different. He understood, especially as a heel instead of a baby face. He understood the psychology of what we needed to do, and man, I couldn't be happier. We're almost 3 months into this thing that we're doing, and I love it, man. I look forward to it. I think about it all the time. I think of ways that I can help us. I think of promos. I think of psychology. I think of how much I hate the guy that we're wrestling against. It's just it's so much fun, and the fact that it's not weekly gives you that time
Yeah.
to build and to think and to strategize. And so it's been huge. So we've got the show in Clifton on April 4th. And then we're in a new town, Brenham, which is outside of College Station, where Texas A&M is. And then in June we're going to Mexico. There's
Nice.
a bull arena in Acuna, and I am I am aiming to be the first wrestling manager to be attacked in a foreign country in a long, long time. I want to, like, I'm gonna do everything I can to protect myself, but if I can get somebody trying to stab me, that would be my life's goal accomplished. Like I'm telling you right now, because I got my "Make America Great Again" hat going. I got my USA suit. Like
Oh,
I'm going full
oh,
on board, man.
oh,
I I want to be a legend. And so if
man.
it
Oh, man.
if it means at the risk of my health, so be it.
I'm
We've
looking
got a
forward
few
to that.
months. Yeah, we got a few months for somebody to talk me out of that, but we'll see.
Dude, go for it, man.
Dude, right? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, because what's the last time, like maybe Cornette, in Mid South, um, it's not often, like, because people don't believe anymore. Like, though people are entertained, and that's the weird part about wrestling today. Everyone can be entertained by professional wrestling, but nobody believes anymore.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happens when Brock Lesnar's music hits? You believe because you don't know, right? That's the modern day Bruiser Brody. You don't know.
Yeah.
That dude is gonna chunk people if he gets an opportunity. If he's grumpy, who knows what's gonna happen, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
You don't
so
want to fuck with a grumpy Brock Lesnar.
yeah, and that's what I love that, man. And you know, my thing right now that I do is I like to go out there and interact with the kids. Um, because if you're a grown adult arguing with me at a wrestling show, you're not worth my time. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Um, but if I can get an 8-year-old, I got an 8-year-old this past weekend who got so mad he was turned purple. He
Oh,
was yelling at me and he's like, I'm not the kid to mess with. And I said, I don't, whatever, man. I said, you got beads around your neck. Why don't you ask your mom what you have to do to get those? And then the mom's sitting right there and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, and if I can tell the parents are having a good time because their kids are having a good time, and they're going to come back every time we're in that town,
oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah,
And and I just think that's trying to build the next generation of fans is, telling them because they're calling you a cheater and you're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm a cheater. That's why I don't live in this town. Like if you want to live here the rest of your life, sure, do things the right way. But if you want to get out of this podunk town, you should cheat. It'll get you out of here a lot quicker, right? The government cheats. Ask your parents. They know, right? Everyone around you cheats. That's how you're successful. If you're not successful, you're going to live here the rest of your life. Like, is that what you want? You want to have four kids by three different dudes? Like, no, like you cheat, be successful, and um they a lot of the stuff goes over their head, right? But their
yeah.
parents are there and they'll find humor in it. So um but I just yeah, I have a blast with 360 Pro Wrestling, and it's been very good to me and my wife, and we will do everything we can to be very good to it, and we'll be there for every show. Right now, they're building the schedule for the back half of 2026, and so right now, that's my priority. I do have an opportunity with another promotion called Heart of Texas,
Mm,
HOT. I'll be there on March 29th, and we're gonna start something. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully, it works, and hopefully, we can build some momentum there. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I have to be involved with people I believe in. I'm
yeah,
never going to attach my name. I don't want to say my name. Whatever, right? My name's my name. Who cares? I'm not going to attach my efforts, right? And
yeah,
my ability to be believable. I'm not going to take a chance on someone that I don't believe in.
yeah.
And so, thankfully, there's a lot of really great talent right now in Texas, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. That's the beauty of it. Like, um, I'll say this and maybe get canceled, but I hope people understand what I'm saying. I came up in a time where there wasn't a lot of black wrestlers,
There was that time.
and it wasn't anything other than the fact that like there just wasn't.
Yeah,
Right now, the majority of young talent that is out there crushing it, right, are young black athletes, male and female,
yeah.
and it's amazing. It's
Hmm.
amazing to see. Um, I know nationally, Maya World got a lot of attention
Yeah.
recently. Um, she is so young, like in the business and in life.
I've had
Um,
her on too.
she's amazing. Like she has great training, obviously, but she's smart and she understands what she should do and what she shouldn't do, and it's amazing. There's obviously my group, right? Demo Diamond, Man, TJ Slater, Levi Lucas, Reza Clark. There's Delynn Cavens,
Mm.
Cavens. Talk about size, right? Being a factor. Like I don't give a damn. Like you put Cavens on a show, here's my money. I take it, right?
Oh yeah,
Um, and then there's a kid down. I want to say from Houston. I may be wrong, and I apologize if that's the case. But Travis Cuddy, um, look out for him. I'm telling you, like in the vein of Javon Evans and there's another kid that just came out of Booker's that's on NXT now. Um, can't think of his name right now.
yeah.
Uh,
It's escaping me right now, but I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah, but Cuddy has a lot of those same qualities. Um, and he's grinding on social media. He's everywhere on social media. I told him, I said, hey, look, I said, my opinion shouldn't mean anything to you, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. I was like, you're doing everything you need to do. Like, keep doing what you're doing, keep traveling, keep working, keep posting every day. I see more of your stuff than I see of anybody else's, and that's a good thing because I don't get on social media very often. Like, I don't like it, I hate it, which is probably why I don't get booked a lot. Um, but I see his stuff every time I log into something. I see his stuff because it's being pushed out there, and that's huge. But then we got guys like Lou Cameron that's out there right now. Ethan Hunter from Europe, he's over here killing it. Then you got guys that are completely different characters, like Dustin Wynn, right? The Wind Dragon, like
Just recorded with him.
outstanding young man, right? Personally, couldn't ask for a more respectful person. Almost to a fault. Like if he gets held back, it'll be because he's so nice. And that sucks, right? But then you got on the flip side, like you got a tatted up dude, Izzy James, who's part of the NWA. Talked about Chandler Hopkins, right? Like there's just so much talent out there and in different shapes and sizes. If you go to a show in Texas and you're not entertained, like tell somebody the people that were on that show because they're using the wrong people. Like they should be using, you know, God, I don't want to leave anybody out, but there's like Red Chambers, Big J, LVJ. LVJ is a guy. Holy cow. Like I made the decision to put him in set six and it didn't fit at all. And I told the guys this was selfish because I just wanted to manage him. Like I just wanted to talk about how great LVJ is. It didn't work, it didn't fit, right? But like it was easy for me because I think LVJ is the one of the best out there. So that's easy, right? But all the people that are being trained by Athena right now,
No,
the young men and women that are coming out of DFW All Pro, that's just Dallas Fort Worth, right? But then you got New Texas Pro Wrestling down south. You got Baracho Pro. Um, you've got Gulf Coast down in Corpus. You have Texas Cartel down by the border. Like it's just, dude, Texas is the place to be, man. It's always been
yeah,
the place to be. But I'm just getting excited thinking about all the young talent that's out there. The experienced talent, Justin Taylor from Odessa, that dude's showing up in better shape than I've ever seen him before. He sets the standard for what being a professional wrestler is about, being there early, being dressed, being ready to go. God bless, man. I'm sorry. I get really excited when I talk about.
I get on tangents on this show sometimes myself. Like I
I
get a
just,
subject and I just go.
man, I when you're blessed, right? Like, I guess the reason I get excited is because I've been a part of so many bad locker rooms. There was a period where like I was just telling somebody today actually because they were asking me about what a wrestling ring consists of, and I told them, and I said that's now is the standard. So, but back in the day, man, I remember working in, some junk building in Fort Worth where the wrestling canvas was a tarp. It was a blue tarp, right? And it wasn't
I've seen
tied down, it wasn't taped down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, when Jim Cornette talks about outlaw mud shows, those are the shows he's talking about. Like I've been there, I've been a part of those shows. They suck. They're terrible. The talent's terrible. It's backyard talent. Um, Nobody's using backyard talent anymore because you got guys out there now that, you know, there's a promotion in Marshall, Texas, which is on the Louisiana border. There's great talent coming out of there, like Keelik Sunrise is from there. He's an amazing young talent. Louisiana has guys like Johnny Lyons and King Crawdaddy. All those guys, different size, different shapes, different like that. It's beautiful, man. I
oh yeah.
freaking love professional wrestling.
Oh yeah. Nope, I'm right there with you. That's why part of why I keep this show going is yeah, there's
Yeah.
times it gets frustrating and I wonder what I'm doing, but then I get on this roll and then I'm just like, I love this shit.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned the two categories I have. First one's a bit of a name game. I name off some people. You give me first quick thoughts on each of them. And I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. And
Okay.
figure each of these pretty big out there currently in the wrestling managerial world. First one, I I'm actually a brand ambassador for This Man's Coffee, Prince Nana.
Um, longevity, reinvention. He was he was a gimmick in Ring of Honor, and he's a gimmick now, but it's a much more relatable, believable gimmick. I do not watch AEW. I don't like anything about AEW except for the people that they're paying that I really love. Guys like
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa, guys like Athena, Lance Archer, Sammy Guevara. There's a lot of guy Keith Lee. There's a lot of guys that I know and love personally that are getting paid by them. So God bless them for that. But Prince Nana is a guy that shows up on my timeline a lot because he's a walking gift, man. Like he's just
Yeah.
good for him. Good for him. And with him and Swerve, I always liked Swerve. Worked with him a couple times. Him and Palmer were good friends, and so he would come into MPX and just a great guy to have on the show. So I'm happy for their success.
Oh yeah. Oh God. I just got to think I've gotten to meet Swerve off of Prince Nana, but him and Swerve, well, they're kind of what end up actually drawing me to AEW right now. But got to meet Swerve one time. Actually got a figure signed by him up there.
Nice.
And the thing I love about him is like I gravitate towards, like I said, those intense personas. And it's always weird. He can he I mean he's doing it right now. He is one sadistic son of a bitch. But you talk to him behind, like
Sure.
after the cameras are off, one of the absolute nicest dudes ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
Now,
I,
oh, go ahead.
no, I'm happy for his success.
Oh yeah. Now, I mean, okay, this next one, I know not a fan of AEW right now, but he's he's we talked about those people, putting their name in the group. This guy has that right now, Don Callis.
I liked the Jackal.
I
Um,
remember the Jackal.
if you go back and watch that stuff now, it was ahead of its time. Like I didn't get it as a kid, but man, it's pretty good stuff, and I understand why it didn't get over. But Cyrus the Virus on ECW, what a bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely enjoy that. I don't know anything personally about him. I've heard stuff that, make me kind of question like, okay, why is he still around? But he can talk and that's huge. Um, but to your point, like having the Don Callis family, for one, it just sounds like a cheap ripoff of the Heenan family.
It kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and the difference is you could ask somebody Bobby Heenan, they can tell you a handful of guys that he managed, right? Rick Rude, Andre the Giant, obviously was the big one, right? But King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Paul Orndorff, like you can just name guys that Bobby Heenan was with. Besides Lance Archer, like I know there's Kyle Fletcher or whatever his name is. I know there's guys there, right? But when you're putting your name first in the group, you're not getting anybody over. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Your fans of the product are gonna know, which is fine. That's who you're catering to.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to put the emphasis on the talent, not yourself. Like you've been around for 30 plus years. You don't need to be over anymore. Like let these guys get over.
I can definitely see the logic there. Now, last but not least here, I've I've yet to have the pleasure of meeting the guy, but definitely wouldn't mind it. He's whether you know him from ECW or various stints with whatever moniker, you know, however many he's had, I've lost count. Paul Heyman.
Yeah, the goat. I mean, that's the goat. Um, I I think what the most impressive thing about him, besides longevity, that's key, right?
Yeah.
Because he was doing stuff in the late 80s, with Cornette and the Real Midnight Express. And then he had the Dangerous Alliance and he was commentating and then he became Booker and then he was owner. Um, and, then the transition to WWF and then, all that since then. Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is my number one guy. So, of course, Paul Heyman comes with that. But I was a huge ECW fan. Um, the Dangerous Alliance was cool because I knew Steve Austin came from Dallas and Paul E. Dangerously managed them. So I immediately was like, all right, cool. Dig that. But he's he's the goat for what he does behind the scenes just as much as what he does in front
Oh,
of the
for
camera.
sure, for sure.
I will tell you that when I get DMs that I'm the Timu Paul Heyman, it pisses me off because we're two fat white guys that's all we have in common. I mean, like I don't come out and say my name. I don't cut the same like I don't think I do anyway. I don't think I cut the same promos like he does. So yeah, maybe I wear a suit. Like, all right, cool, whatever, right? But a lot of dudes wear suits.
Yeah,
So that part gets a little frustrating. So I'm like, that's the only thing you have to compare me to, right? Because he is the GOAT. And that's cool. Like if that's the insult you want to throw my way, I mean, whatever. Because in my opinion, a Timu version of Paul Heyman is still in the top 10% of all-time managers, right? A Timu version of Paul Heyman.
yeah.
And when I say GOAT, I mean um, I do mean greatest of all time, but it's a very close one and two with Cornette. I do think Cornette's booking is better than his managing, and I think Heyman's ability to stay relevant in the managerial role was better than his booking because his booking could be very out there sometimes if you go back and watch and he had the disadvantage also of weekly without contracts.
Yeah,
Right, guys could leave at any time, and that's tough, right? That's
true.
really really tough, and so I don't fault him, for some of the things that ended up happening. But yeah, man, Paul Heyman's Paul Heyman. Like he's in a whole category by himself, right? He's not on Mount Rushmore. He could be Mount Rushmore. I mean, seriously, he could be, the yuppie Paulie Dangerously character. He could be the ECW Paul Heyman. He could be the manager Paul Heyman, and then he could be the guy that makes people believe in themselves more than they'd ever be able to believe in them, on their own. He could be that version, right? He could literally be his own Mount Rushmore of what he contributes to the professional wrestling business. It's
Well,
huge.
for sure. Now I have some random questions, some wrestling related, some not random. So I give you the question, first answer that pops into your head. First one, craziest in match moment that you were out there to witness.
Damn, coming in hot. Seen a lot of crazy stuff, man. Um, I saw a guy hit the ring, a fan hit the ring, and the referee field goal kicked him right in the face,
Oh,
knocked him out, broke his nose. Dude got hauled to the back, beat the crap out of, sent on his way. That's one. I watched a guy get paralyzed
oh, yeah.
with a brain buster, and was the one that called 911 and was the one that followed the ambulance to the hospital. Um, those are definitely crazy. They're also emotional. Um, no, those are tough. Keith Lee never told his mom that wrestling was a work, and she tried to jump the guardrail one night and attack his opponent because they were beating up her baby boy.
I think I know the moment you're talking about because I swear that a
I,
guest of mine,
I
I
will tell you that it happened more than once.
so I can imagine. I know of one time that oh god, there was a couple moments involving this person with Keith Lee, but one time was with the mother. The other time ended up with them running around the corner of the building thinking they were safe. All of a sudden, they hear this roar of the crowd, and the crowd is following Keith Lee running after him.
um, I'm glad I brought that up because it did remind me of something else, and this is the crazy thing. So at the end, I think it was 2002. This is the end of 2002. There was a show called Legacy Wrestling Entertainment (LWE), um, and they had booked a lot of national talent and a lot of legends. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was there, Mil Mascaras was there, and they booked Sandman, Tammy, and somebody else. Can't remember. Anyway, um, well, the flight was delayed, so the show's starting, and Sandman and Tammy haven't got there yet. Oh, Candido, duh. Sorry.
Oh,
Um, I think of Sandman when I think about this because Candido was too drunk to even stand. So he's not really part of the story. He was just kind of there.
yeah.
But Sandman's drunk. They tell them don't send them. Don't play their music. Don't announce them. Don't send them. Music plays. Sandman comes out of his entrance. He's chunking beers at the fans, not open, full cans of beer at people. We're in this rodeo arena in Fort Worth, very historic arena. He's chunking beers at people. I'm trying to dodge, like, oh my God, what's going on? Meanwhile, in the locker room, Tammy Sitch has completely just like it has gone absolute batshit crazy. And it's not my story to tell. I will encourage you to reach out to Lance Romance and have him on the show and have
Mm.
him talk about legacy. Um, because what a nightmare. And then Candido hits to the ring, and him and Sandman have the sloppiest match I've ever seen. So imagine 2002. You're not that far removed from ECW, so you know who these guys are, right?
Yeah.
But they're also mixed with Paul London and AJ Styles and Hot Stuff Hernandez and talent that are trying to make their way in the business. And this is what's leading them into that, right? And Mil Mascaras is like completely disgusted. Hacksaw's like, WTF, I don't know what's going on. Um, it was just mass chaos, but like just the Sandman and Chris Candido's match, that is the all-time craziest shit I've ever seen in a wrestling ring, and it was an absolute disgrace. But it's a story that 24 years later we're still talking about. We talk about it all the time because how do you not? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you not?
Oh yeah. Now, I like talking a little bit of stuff outside of wrestling with my guests from time to time, and yeah, you see my stuff behind me here. I got some stuff that I still got to put up, but hobbies you have outside of wrestling. I think we might be, talking about some of the same stuff here.
Yeah, I was noticing your stuff as we were getting going and just kind of doing our get to know yous. And it's pretty cool because um, a lot of times I'll see stuff right in somebody's background. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I know that. I know that. Okay, I'm not a fan of that, but that's cool. There's nothing that you have up that I don't like. I love turtles, right? Because we're the same age.
Yeah.
I think what's cool is you have not just like the cartoon stuff, but like you have like the The Universal Studios stuff there. You have some of the movie stuff there.
Yep.
I can't see clearly, but I keep thinking that's like Creatures of the Black Lagoon version on the second row there, but it may just
Oh,
be
right
the
here. Yeah.
yeah.
I actually
Um,
have two different versions of Shredder as Dracula that I have yet to put
yeah.
up.
Dude, the Walmart variant, the like
Yeah,
that I dude, I'm
I have that one.
hands
I got to
hands
put it up
down
too.
one of the coolest damn figures they ever released. Oh, it was so
Oh yeah.
cool. The Target one was cool, but the Walmart one, man, they nailed it with that.
Oh yeah.
Um, Jason David Frank is definitely a hero
Oh
of
yeah.
mine. So love that. And then definitely the wrestling figures are a huge part of my I would say my life, honestly. I all of my socials are very confusing to people because it's dolls, not drugs. Um, and because when I left wrestling, I wanted to focus on my collection. I wanted to focus on my custom work. I wanted to kind of build a reputation for myself. So I changed all my stuff to Dolls Not Drugs. The name is in honor of my dad because he hated when I would come home from like a Toys R Us trip or a KB Toys trip, whatever, and I'd have toys. And he's like, "Oh, you and your little dolls." His voice was a lot more manly than that, but he's not here to defend himself, so I'll give him a weak voice. But my mom would always fight back and say, "Well, at least it's not drugs." You know, I have a very addictive personality. Um, I actually believe that's a true disease, much like alcoholism. It's definitely not as serious,
Yeah.
but it's just as dangerous to the bank account. Um,
Definitely.
but but yeah, man, I definitely collect. I'm very picky these days, thankfully. I have a whole lot to go through. Like I'm currently winding down my stuff. I'm in my Zack Ryder phase, or my, I guess, Matt Cardona phase, where he's building his toy room with him in Chelsea's new house, and so I'm kind of doing the same right now. And so it's not his collection's way more expensive than mine, obviously, because he's made way more money than I have. But I've got him beaten quantity. But yeah, I mean, really, I buy select things here and there. But for me right now, it's all about custom making stuff.
Okay.
Just painting you know, just trying to look to see if so the stuff behind me is all custom. So I'll use Val Venus here. Um, so
Oh.
that is Val Venus and the WWE Superstars uh, formula or format or style or whatever you want to call it. Jack's classic Superstars head, probably Tau too, and then just putting it together, assembling it, making it look like who it's supposed to be. Um, and then like there's everybody's favorite chairman, um, Mr. McMahon, buff with his big muscles. And so that's really my
Okay.
that's my what do you call it? Escape from reality.
Yeah.
Um, and so I get a lot of dopamine from that. And so I think collecting is great. I think it's cool that it's more mainstream now than it's ever been. I don't I'm not a huge Funko guy, especially now that they're like $15. I was at the store earlier. Hey, $15 for Funko Pop. I'm like, hold on, man. These are things that should have stayed $10. They're in the Costco hot dog conversation. Like Costco hot dogs are $1.50. Funko Pop should be $10. Like you're getting crazy if you think I'm spending 15. But uh, but they're huge for everybody because I would dare say that if you are a fan of anything, they probably have a Funko Pop of it.
Yeah. Very much
So
so. Yeah.
it's good for everyone. And we have toy shows here in the DFW area every single weekend. Sometimes two, sometimes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're a little overstimulated here, but yeah, man, that's my thing, man. love collecting. I love displaying. I love creating. It's the best.
Oh yeah. Well, I did. We were talking about some of my stuff. Talking about turtles getting both cartoon and
Hmm.
movie stuff in here. Same convention. My favorite Ninja Turtle was always Michelangelo.
Me too, brother. Me too.
I got to, in the same convention, meet the voice behind Michelangelo from the original cartoon, signed by
Nice.
him right here. And then from the original movies, my favorite's still Secret of the Ooze. I'm gonna just put that out there. But
Interesting.
the guy behind Splinter from both of those first two movies,
I made a funny. That's a
he,
great signature.
he asked me if I wanted Cowabunga or I Made a Funny. And knowing those two quotes from the movies, I'm like, dude, I made a funny, absolutely.
Yes, man. That I saw that and I heard it in his voice. And
Oh,
it's
the
it's
same every time I look at it, I think,
yeah.
oh, I made a funny
Yes, yes. That's awesome.
every friggin' time.
But
Oh man,
you can't blow past the fact that the second movie is your favorite. I need you to defend not defend it like I'm asking you like what the heck. I'm just like what are your reasons for Secret of those?
I I guess for me, I just I don't know. That one just always stuck with me more. Like
Do you think it was because when we were I say we because we're the same age, right? When we were that age when they came out, it was a much more fun representation.
that might have been it.
Because Toka and Razor are awesome, right? Like mommy. Um, like there's a lot of fun. And I know diehard Turtle fans are always like, but they took the weapons away and they did this and they did that. I get it, but I didn't grow up on the comic books. So I don't like the darkness that is the Turtles. Like I want it to be lighthearted and funny. And sure, I want there to be a level of seriousness to like a level of jeopardy. Like Shredder in the first one is
Oh,
a threat,
oh
right?
yeah,
He's a
oh yeah.
menace. But the second one, man, I'm with you, dude. I think it's a great movie. Like I don't know that I necessarily have I always tell people my favorite is the third just to watch them melt down.
I know, right?
Because I actually like the time gimmick where they go back in time. I think that's kind of funny. But people melt when I'm like, oh, dude, the third one's where the money's at. But yeah, man, I just I don't hear a lot of people. And I guess it's because most of my friends that like turtles are hardcore turtles people, and so they're always like, oh, the first one is lit. Yeah, first one's great. First
Oh
one, I
yeah,
mean, first one, I can't say one bad thing about it. But man, if you want a fun movie, that opening sequence.
oh yeah. From the
I was like,
second
of
one
two, dude, they're beating up the guys with, the
with the
sausage
sausages,
nunchucks. Come on, man.
yeah,
How do you
stuffing the
not
one
love
guy
it?
in the trash can.
Yes, dude. And then at the end of it, they're all tied up, and he's like here with the pizza, and he's like, nobody's gonna believe. I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't know, man. I think that's I love it. I do like I like the original April O'Neil. I wish she'd have stuck for the second and the third. But outside of that, man,
Oh yeah.
I love I can never remember his name, but the kid that played Kato is legendary in
Dino,
martial
Dino,
arts.
whatever. I was trying to think while you were saying that, but yeah, no, that guy. Oh yeah, wasn't it
Ernie something.
Ernie something? Because didn't
Yeah.
he end up being the guy in one of the turtle suits from the first movie,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
Wrath? I wanted to say.
Yeah, he was definitely in one of the suits, and then he went on to do one of the most underrated films of all time called Surf Ninjas.
Oh, I
Um,
remember that one.
yeah, Rob Schneider steals the movie. But yeah, he's in Walking Tall years later with the
Ooh.
no, not Walking Tall, The Rundown
Ah,
with
yeah,
The
yeah.
Rock. But he's legendary, man. That's so he makes that movie so much better. Just being, because like the Casey Jones is obviously dark and brooding, and he's kind of a prick in the first one. So having the comic relief as the sidekick was a little bit better. It's easier to digest.
Oh yeah. Although one I don't have it readily displayed right now, but we brought up the comic books. I only actually have a couple. I have the whole binded set of the Last Ronin story,
Hmm.
and then I actually have a copy of the the issue that was the first appearance of Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady.
Oh wow.
So like two of my little prized little
Yeah.
bits of the Ninja Turtle collection right there. But going on to the last two questions I have here with the name of a show like I have, I feel like I have to ask this one. Favorite drink, alcoholic or otherwise?
High quality H2O. No.
Oh God, you got me thinking of water boy now.
um, yeah, it's a good one. I am definitely a whiskey and bourbon fan. Especially with a cigar.
Mm,
That you can't beat that. From a beer, it's really depending on the mood. It could be, if you're having Mexican food, having Dos Equis. If you are just drinking, Shiner. And then if you're having a laid back time, Pabst Blue Ribbon, which I never appreciated until I took a tour of their original facilities a couple of years ago in Milwaukee and had a new appreciation for what it was. Like it was straight from the tap there too, and it was like, oh my God, this is the smoothest, like that kind of beer, right? I'm not technical with the terms and stuff, right? But
yeah.
obviously, like a Shiner Bock is a Bock, right? So it's a little bit different than like your normal, Budweiser or Bud Light or whatever. Um, but yeah, I would say like if you're sitting on a patio and you got a couple dudes around smoking cigars, like it's definitely get a good sipping bourbon,
Oh yeah.
and you're gonna have a good night.
Oh yeah. No, I'm definitely with you there. Now, last but not least, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Don't.
You're
Um,
not the first one. You're not the first one to say that.
I will take that question and I will answer it in a way that is fitting for anything that anybody wants to do. Um, be prepared to hear no a lot and listen to no's. A lot of people will tell you, "Oh, just ignore them and keep moving forward." No, listen. Listen to everything. Okay? Listen to everything and take something from everything. Your biggest failures could be your biggest learning opportunities, right? You don't learn anything if you just have success. Like I mentioned Maya earlier, and I'm a little scared for her because she's so young, and it is a very rough road. Athena is looking out for these young women today because she knew the road that she traveled. She doesn't want that for them. So it's great, right? She's trying to make a better way for them, which is awesome. But you you know, on the flip side, there are people that work 10, 15, 20 years and they never ever accomplish doing it for a living. And a lot of talented people I've seen that didn't make it. And I hate it. And I think about it a lot and it bums me out because not only were they my friends, but they were people that deserved to make it. They were truly people that deserved to make it. And so, um, but always ask questions, always find veterans in the locker room. Ask them, can you please watch my match? Listen to the feedback they give you. Yeah, maybe some of it isn't, you want to take the right people's advice, obviously, but there's
Yeah.
something for everything.
Oh,
There was a gentleman in the locker room a couple nights ago when we're 360. Kit Carson, him and Chris Germany were NWA Tag Team Champions in '98. Worked with them later on. And he's been around. It's not that he's going to give you any kind of earth-shattering advice. It's going to make you go on, right? But showing respect to the people that were there before and trying to get something out of it, like why wouldn't you? Um, have a trainer that has a name doesn't mean you get your start. Like there are two different things. Getting broken in and having the trainer are two different things. You can get broken in by anybody. Get a ring, learn how to bump, get your fundamentals, and then find somebody who knows what they're doing because they get paid for a living doing it. Um, get a trainer with the name. Hey, you know, yeah, I was broken by this guy, but I learned everything that I know from, this person.
yeah.
That's huge. But don't quit. But at the same, like this is all contradictory, right? Don't quit. But if you have personal things going on in your life, you have to get them sorted out.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like the big ones, like, oh, your mental struggles. Like we all have mental struggles. Like that's important too. Seek help, talk to people, get on medication, whatever you got to do, right? Get your head straight. But if you have like relationship problems or you have family problems or you have any kind of thing that's going on in your world, the last thing you want to do is take somebody's health and their livelihood in your hands and your head
Yeah.
isn't in the game.
Very much so. Yeah.
This shit will be here forever. Wrestling will never die. The last of the comets are hitting this earth. There is still a wrestling ring somewhere on this planet that is being used at the time the comets hit. I guarantee it. Like it just is what it is. Wrestling will always be here. And if you got to step away for 6 months, step away. And if you get hurt, heal. Do not keep fighting through injuries because at the end of the day, you're going to have to take a physical wherever you want to get signed. And if you don't pass because you didn't let your ankle heal and now it's all jacked up, you're never getting a job. Take the time to
Hmm.
heal.
Yep.
Um, I could go on and on, but really at the end of the day, it's if you want to make it, you have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Look at yourself in the mirror and say, would I pay to see somebody that looks like this on TV? And if that is going to be a struggle, then you better be unique. You better bring something to the table. Again, there are guys like we talked about the Lynn Cavens and Man Man. Like they weren't blessed with size. So what do? They go out there and they entertain you better than anyone else on the show because that's what they have to do. You have to do that. You have to raise yourself up to a level that exceeds whatever deficiencies you have that you couldn't control. But realistically, the first word, no, don't do it, is probably the best advice.
No, I
Um,
get you
you know,
there.
you gotta love it. Don't do it for money. You gotta
Oh,
love
yeah.
it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got you gotta love it.
Oh, for sure. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you and where you're going to be, they can go ahead and get them there.
I think I get tagged the most on Instagram. I only use Twitter because I like seeing the ridiculousness that goes on in the world,
Yeah.
and it all goes down on Twitter.
Seems to.
Don't really log into Facebook, so you can message me on Facebook. I definitely use Messenger. If someone out there sees my stuff and wants to book me, please go through Messenger. Um, and then on Instagram, it's dolls, not drugs. And I don't really post anything. I just get tagged and stuff, and then I repost it. Um, I've got one up right now where I'm telling Brent McKenzie that JBL is a chicken shit because he won't show up to fight him. So John Bradshaw Layfield, if you see this, bring Ron Simmons. Hell's waiting for you in Clifton, brother. Um, but yeah, if you're a promoter that wants to use me, that's awesome. Let's talk. Um, definitely message me on Facebook, Messenger. And then if you do message me on Instagram, chances are I probably won't see it. I don't get the notifications. Um, but yeah, man, more than anything, like if you just want to see cool action figures, follow me on Twitter because I post there. Um, and so um, yeah, man, I'll leave with this. I love professional wrestling, and I hope that comes across when you're watching or listening to this. And I I can give you my honest assessment if you're curious as to what my thoughts are of your match. I'll watch your match. You can send it to me. I'll watch it and critique it and tell you what you did right, what you did wrong, what you can improve on. And if you think my opinion's worth anything, then maybe you take it and you can apply it. Otherwise, hey man, it's all good. I'm gonna keep doing what I do, and I hope that the next generation comes around and is as exciting as this current generation because Texas wrestling is on fire, and I truly mean that. And if you're listening to this and you don't go to shows, that's kind of weird because it's a wrestling podcast. But man, do your best, especially if you're in Texas. If you're down south, get to a show in the Austin, San Antonio, Houston area. If you're in North Texas, man, check out MPX, check out VIP, check out DFW All Pro. If you're in a small, shitty town in Texas, chances are 360 Pro Wrestling is going to come to your town. We're going to give you an entertaining show. You'll be talking about it all, after it's over and until the next one. But man, there's a show somewhere. Go watch it, man.
Oh
Escape
yeah.
for 2 hours. Life
Oh yeah.
sucks, right?
Oh
Government's going to
yeah.
take your money. You're living paycheck to paycheck. Why not spend a few bucks and find an escape?
Oh yeah. Oh, with you there. Well, that is about all I have. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Been an absolute pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, my man. Thank you.
Now my issue with this fucking button again. See my fat fucking thumbs.